Hi guys, welcome to the Modern Men Movement podcast. I'm here with Joe Hunter, a dear friend of mine from back in the day. What I'd like to say is it's a pleasure, Joe. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with me today. Got a hell of a lot of time for you, as you know that. We've got a bit of a backstory behind us, and I'd just like to introduce you here today, mate, and just go with whatever's been going on for yourself, and we can just catch up about where we're at and just move forward and just see where we're at, bro. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds good, mate. I'm really, really pleased you've asked me, to be honest with you. It's a little bit of an unusual environment to be in, but yeah, let's go with it. That's
absolutely fine, mate. It's good to be uncomfortable, bro. Do you know what I mean? It's good to be uncomfortable. So tell me a bit about yourself, Joe. Like, so what's life been like for you? Like, let's start from the beginning.
Wow, starting from the beginning. So I just, for as long back as I just remember feeling quite unhappy, to be honest with you. Without sounding morbid, I just did. Like, life just felt quite unnatural for me, to be honest with you. There was always like a hyper awareness of self. Like, I remember like being in school and just feeling continually overwhelmed, if I'm honest with you. I found most of my childhood sort of like quite challenging. I just found it tough, if I'm honest with you. Growing up on the Saffron Lane estate, growing up kind of just like in pubs and places like that and seeing things that kids probably shouldn't. I found it quite challenging, is the honest answer to that.
And what did that look like for you moving forward into your teen years, and then what really went on for you back then?
I think that I just wanted to rebel against life, if I'm honest with you. I never was interested in doing like rules. I was never interested in school. I would always just be sort of like running around the local estate doing things that I shouldn't. Really, like when I think back now, the kind of things that I would get up to when I was younger, like being brought home for things like commercial burglaries, street robberies, just running around the estate really with the lads creating carnage. Like, it saddens me even to think back now that I was running around doing that sort of stuff. Like, I'm a father now, so the thought of any of my lads running around doing that, actually I feel quite sad about that, is the truth of it.
And I totally appreciate that, Joe. And like you say, you just touched on that you're a father now. I'm sure, looking back into the days of carnage and the days you were talking about previous, did you ever think that was going to be a possibility for you to even have that kind of structure in your life with having kids and settling down? And I know, obviously, you're married to a lovely woman now as well. Was that anything that you ever thought that would really happen for you?
I'd never really planned for it, if I'm honest with you. And I think the reason for that is I was so overwhelmed with home life and social life and all the rest of it. I just felt quite angry. I didn't really know how to sort of articulate the fact that I wasn't coping, really. I don't think that society or schooling system or social system was as good as they are now at picking up when kids are not okay. So in this day and age, my lad, if he's not struggling at school, they pick up on it straight away. You've got Senkos, you've got things that go on in school that pick up on lads or ladies that are not doing too well. And so I just felt angry with it, and I just felt like I wanted to make everybody else know that I felt bad about it. So I didn't have no plans, is the long and short. No.
Yeah, I can appreciate that totally. And like you say, you struggled and there was no coping. So I know we've had many conversations in the past, Joe, but obviously just for the viewers and whatever, like, so what was your coping strategies for you back in the day? What did you turn to, and what was your life looking like for you to be able to cope as a human being?
It's a really strange thing, right? But I'm going to say this because when I've mentioned this to people, a lot of people can identify with it, yeah? How it felt when I was younger, because I wasn't very comfortable with my home environment. And I don't say that to blame mum or dad. I love both my mum and dad. We get on well. They did the best they could with what they had ultimately. But how I coped, I used to just sort of zone out. Now I know that to be like dissociation. So it was almost like, as a child, before I could escape the family home or have any sort of autonomy, it was almost like I could view life in like a tunnel vision kind of way. So I would sit in my living room and I would be there, but I would feel like I'm really far away from the situation. It's unusual. If you're not familiar with it, you might find it unusual. But when I've spoke to people, they understand that. It's because I was dissociating from my environment at a very, very young age because I wasn't comfortable with it at all. And then obviously as time went on, as soon as I could get out of the home, then I would be doing things in the community that I shouldn't have been really, whether that's committing crime, burning cars, smashing windows, burgling houses, all kinds of things that one shouldn't be doing, till eventually chemicals.
That was my next point, Joe, if I'm honest. Obviously, like going back to what I'm saying, I know you through being in recovery myself. So your crime and your mischievous ways back in the day. So where did that take you to? May I ask a personal question, John? Did you ever like a rock bottom? Did you ever have a time where you kind of thought, do you know what, enough's enough?
Quite honestly, no, because there was little or no. I don't know if it's unfair to say there was no discipline. I don't know. I suppose I knew right from wrong. My mum and dad did try to tell me what was right from wrong, but I knew that really they wasn't going to hold to any boundary. There wasn't going to be any sort of like firm consequences for anything that I did, really. So I just continued to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. So I didn't really feel any sort of rock bottom, certainly not as a child. As life went on, maybe, but as a child, not so much, because getting arrested wasn't an issue. It was just like, it kind of was what it was.
Just became the norm.
Yeah, it's normal, you know.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Life does become normalised. It's only when we grow up and we look at it from a different angle that we realise that was absolutely nonsense. The life that we lived as children growing up, or even into our early adulthood, we actually realise that that's not the truth.
So you mentioned about rock bottoms, and it did just come to me. So I got involved in crime at quite a young age. It wasn't planned. It was literally just being in school, selling a few like cigarettes and stuff in the playground, to all of a sudden selling like a little bit of draw, a little bit of red seal, that sort of stuff. And quite quickly that snowballed into moving like large quantities of cannabis. I didn't plan it that way. It was just because I was smoking weed myself, it made sense to make my bit come for free. But then very quickly, there's kilos and kilos coming through my house. There's lots of money and all the rest of it. And what ended up happening is I was set up by an associate when I was in my late teens, about 19, and I was like held in a property near my mum's house. I was beaten with a knuckle duster, and I was quite badly assaulted, embarrassed. Had a quantity of drugs taken from me. Individual then tried to extort money from me, and I think what I realised is that I didn't really want to be part of that world. And I'm glad that I can talk about that openly today, because I didn't want to be part of that world. I wanted to earn money and I didn't want to pay for my own drugs, but I wasn't violent. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a volatile person. And what I realised is, to survive in that world, if you're not a volatile person, then that world's going to swallow you very, very quick. And that became a rock bottom of sorts. It wasn't enough to stop me, but it was definitely an unpleasant realisation and a rude awakening at quite a young age, really. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
And that was what I was going to get to, Joe. Like, obviously, that was an horrible ordeal for you to go through. But like you say, it wasn't enough to stop you. And I can resonate with that massively. Like, I've had a few episodes in my life where there was definitely a few occasions where, for me, with drink, obviously, I can't resonate with the cannabis, and I can't resonate with the heavier drugs that I'm sure we're going to talk about shortly. But there was incidents that happened for me that, any normal Joe Blogs, it would have stopped them drinking. It would have been enough, but it wasn't enough. And I quite easily forgot about how bad it actually got for me. And then I expected different results from doing the same things. It's like, obviously it's insane, but that's what happened for me. Like, it wasn't enough. So you've just been battered. You've been robbed. You've had everything taken away from you, but then you go out and do it again. So what did that look like for you moving forward? Because obviously I know part of your story isn't just cannabis.
I think that a lot of it was pride. So the reality of it is I was quite scared by what had happened. I was already using an awful lot of drugs, not just cannabis, but like party drugs and stuff like that at that time, starting to go in like drum and bass raves. Some of you listening will remember like Sonic Boom at the Charlotte, that sort of stuff. Like, that was, you know what I mean? I used to love that sort of stuff. But, I guess I just continued off into that world because I didn't know who I was. And by that time, although I thought it was fun, now I know on reflection, I was using drugs to anaesthetize myself because I wasn't happy. And so my mind had already recorded that the chemicals that I was taking was a great way to be able to resolve an emotional and a spiritual problem that was inside me. So I just pursued it, and I would just reshuffle things, really, just find other ways to commit crime less quietly, or surround myself with dangerous and unhinged people so that I wouldn't be kidnapped or extorted or whatever. I was fairly strategic in what I did, but on the inside I was absolutely terrified. I hated addiction. I hated committing crime. I hated everything that went with it.
So moving on from the actual committing crimes and the I suppose the criminal way of life. So what went on for you? Did you get taken out of society? Did you get removed? Did you go into any rehabilitation setting? So what happened moving forward for you?
I think it took me a long time for me to see that it was a serious problem, is the honest truth of it. So along the way, I nearly died. I remember in Ibiza. I remember people checking my pulse and stuff there. I nearly died at Global Gathering. I remember waking up in the St. John's ambulance tent and nearly dying there. Remember like waking up in bushes. But I suppose what happened is I split up with my first partner, my childhood partner, sweetheart, love, I suppose. And what that did is it created so much freedom that I just literally, there was nothing stopping me from using drugs then. So I started taking crack and heroin, which very, very quickly brought me to my knees. I was already experiencing psychosis through party drugs and all the rest of it. I was already not coping very well and doing insane things. But once I started taking crack and heroin more regularly, my life imploded quite quickly. And the local authority saw fit to, help me to get into rehab and detox and that sort of stuff.
And clearly it's worked substantially for yourself, Joe. To the man that you've become today is absolutely phenomenal. And I've got a lot of gratitude for you for that as well. Mine never was, like I say, the substance abuse was different. But for me, I understand I went into rehabilitation. But for me, I went there for wrong reasons. So I mean, I went there for other people. And we know that as addicts, we have to do this for us. Because if we don't do it for us, then there's no point doing it. Like, it's like being half pregnant, innit? You're either pregnant or you're not. I mean, you're in or you're out. Like, absolutely. I was in it for other people. It didn't work for me. That's what I'm saying. I'm grateful to you. You dragged me from the trenches. Okay, I still wasn't 100% committed to the cause. But do you know what, Joe? Like, out of respect and gratitude for yourself, like, you kept in touch with me. You checked in with me on a regular basis, like, whether it was through recovery, whether it was through friendship, whether it was through just out of respect as men. Do you know what I mean? We've had some in-depth conversations in the past that I've not had with a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? And I won't have with a lot of people, but that's out of respect for you. And to see the person that you've become today is absolutely like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's inspirational for me. So I know that obviously moving forward, you've kind of gone on to do many, many good things. You know what I mean? For many, many good people, me included. So what's happening for Joe right now, and what's been going on since you've been clean and been away from all substances, and what's going on for you moving forward?
Yeah, there is definitely lots going on. I think what happened is that when I went into the treatment facility, once I was able to identify the truth about who I was, somebody that lacked confidence, somebody with low self-esteem, somebody that sort of wasn't able to verbalize their inner landscape at all. Once I started to heal from some of the past, I started to realize that, I am capable of doing things. Do you know what I mean? And it not thinking that I'm good enough and thinking that I can't engage in life paralyzed me for a long time. So once I healed from the past, there were a lot of things that happened along the way. So I remember being offered a job in the treatment facility, which was the most bizarre thing in the world, to be quite honest with you. It all happened in a flash because my brain was so damaged from taking so many drugs. 17 years is a barrage of chemical abuse. Do you know what I mean? And so going from being detoxed to sort of like stumbling through a primary care unit and not really understanding too much of that process, all of a sudden being offered a job there, training as a counsellor, going on to be able to help men in a 12-step capacity, mentoring men, getting married, having 2 kids. Lots and lots of things have happened along the way that I never thought possible, to be quite honest with you. I think a lot of it was being able to step out into my fear, to understand that, life does frighten me. It still does now. As a counsellor, naturally I have a supervisor and I have my own counsellor, and I'm very honest with people. I say I still feel out my depth now. You know what I mean? It's been nearly 8 years since I've used drugs, but it still feels very bizarre to me, engaging in life. The fact that we're sat here talking honestly and openly about healing and about helping and about past trauma and addiction and all that sort of stuff. It still just genuinely feels quite bizarre. I've got 2 children at home. It's honestly, it's unusual. I find it unusual, mate. It's the truth.
But what beautiful 2 children you have, Joe. Like I say, and the way you speak about them is, it's fantastic. Like I say, life's not easy. Life gets in the way. Like I say, when you've had 17 years of chemical abuse, on the grand scheme of it, you're still halfway into your recovery in the double time that you use chemicals for. So it's not going to happen overnight. And like I say, life is a struggle. And we have had conversations in the past where it's okay to be uncomfortable, but geez, how uncomfortable can we get at times? Because it's not easy. Like sitting here with you today, mate, is a blessing. But this is not something I ever thought would happen between us. Do you know what I mean? I just thought you was going to help me to get off the drink. Do you know what I mean? Now I've put the drink down, I realised that my mental health was still suffering.
Yeah.
So that's why I've decided to come into what I'm doing now, is to show men that it is okay to talk. It is okay. And you know what? And listening's as important as talking. And like you say, you now become a counsellor. And I'm aware that you've now started taking part in biblical stuff within the church and stuff. So what's going on for you there, which is something you would never have ever thought you'd do?
Yeah, something unusual that happened to me that I forgot about is when I was at the end of my active addiction, I was in a flat at the back of the Leicester Royal Infirmary called Winifred Court. It's a horrible place to live, but that's where we were living anyway. There was all kinds of, depravity and degradation going on down there. But she reminded me before she died, bless her, rest in peace, Frankie. She died, about 4 years ago. But she reminded me that at the end of my active addiction, when I was in despair and I was ill and I was dying from abusing crack and heroin, that I would be crying my eyes out, saying, I need the church, I need God, I need the church, which was really unusual because I didn't have that sort of upbringing. There's no reason why I'd be looking in that direction. That wasn't something that was promoted in our home or anything like that. So to me, it was unusual that at the end of my human resources, all that was left to think about really was God. And then because I knew that if I'd leave that treatment centre and try and do it on my own, I would surely die. All of the people I used to use drugs with, they're all dead. I've seen a whole wave. Without sounding morbid, that's the reality of it. I've experienced more death than is natural for a 38-year-old man. So I become open-minded about, first and foremost, spirituality. So in true drug addict form, I had a good look around at everything, all the root chakra stuff and the Taoism and the Buddha, and going to sort of like Buddhist temples and speaking to monks and reading books and when I started looking at Christianity and looking at Christ and what that looks like, I just had a real experience with that. Do you know what I mean? And that is what sustains me, to be honest with you, being a follower of Christ. Not just a Christian on a Sunday that sings a few songs, but being a follower of Christ.
It's amazing, mate. It really is. And like I say, it's so inspirational for me to hear. I mean, the only time I've ever prayed to God is when I needed to, do you know what I mean? Or when I thought I needed to, but it was for wrong reasons. But I take my hat off to you, Joe, for what you're doing. It's amazing, like saying the amount of men that you've helped through the 12-step program, through your counselling, through the church, just life in general. Like I say, when we touched base, when I wasn't ready to come off the drink, it was just a blessing that somebody actually cared about me as a person, because I didn't know who I was. Do you know what I mean? And you told me a lot about me, and you still tell me a lot about me. You'll tell me the truth, which I need to hear sometimes, because a lot of people pussyfoot around me and don't tell me the truth. You've always been the one that's told me the truth, and for that I have massive respect for you for that, Joe.
I don't think men know how to have intimate relationships. That's the issue. I think a lot of the people that I speak with are from a fatherless society. So even if their dad still is in the picture, they don't really talk about emotions. They've never really been nurtured. They've never really had a healthy attachment to another man. So when you see people and they're like, how you doing, mate? They're like, oh yeah, not too bad, sweet, ups and downs. Really, they're probably going under on the inside, but nobody's really talking, honestly. And I think the 12-step rooms taught me how to help men, but I think that through Christ and the church, it's taught me how to walk with men without putting conditions on it. I'm not too interested whether or not you go to meetings or if you want to read certain books or write a gratitude. I'm not bothered. I just want men to be able to receive love, to be able to grow. And that's what I'm doing a lot of that. It's similar to what you're doing, really. I'm doing a lot with the MST ministry at the minute, which is a worldwide ministry. It's mentoring men, strengthening marriages, and teaching truth. That is biblical truth, helping people understand about their identity and about masculinity and brotherhood and vulnerability. Why is no one talking?
For me, the answer to that question is it's like it's through pride, it's through ego, it's through lack of understanding, it's through being scared of not being heard. For me, I remember I reached out and it fell on deaf ears. You know what I mean? Like, Lee, you're okay. You got a nice house, you got a job, you got all this. What have you got to be worried about? That wasn't the truth. Do you know what I mean? I was crippled. I was absolutely internally destroyed, and I didn't know who I was. And it's only when now that I actually speak out to other men and tell them how I feel and be honest and brutally just tell them this is how I feel. I need some support with this. That another man does listen. I'm saying, like, I can't take people's pain away. I don't want no one to take my pain away. I just want someone to be there to hear me out and for me to hear them out and just, go away on equal terms and just go, you know what, I've helped this man today and he's helped me. And I think for me, that's powerful.
Yeah. The thing is, I think most people put conditions on relationships in this day and age. So it's like, I'll help you as long as you do what I want you to do. Or I help you until you get really, really off key and life goes really, really left. And it's like, for your situation and what happened to you, the truth of it is most men don't know how to be with you in that situation. You start, I'm not going to speak in depth about it because I don't know how transparent you are or are not on this podcast, but your journey's been immensely painful, Lee. And the truth of it is that a lot of people don't know how to walk with men through hell unless they've experienced it themselves. Do you know what I mean?
No, 100%. And I am very transparent these days, Joe. So, but thank you for covering that. It means a lot, to be fair, the fact you're trying to keep my integrity and my private life. But it's not private anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm very open about what's happened with me. I'm very open about the thoughts and feelings behind it all. Yes, it was traumatic, and on days it still is. I still have therapy myself. It's very, very beneficial. Which I thought was really odd because, like I say, when I did try to speak out, it just kind of fell on deaf ears. But now when I do speak out, I feel like I'm being heard, and I'm actually getting a response that tells me I'm being heard. Does that make sense?
There's a call for it. What I've realised throughout helping people in a 12-step capacity, through working in a treatment centre, through the job that I do at present as well. So I work within the NHS at the minute. It's kind of like where mental health meets criminality, I suppose. But what I've realised is that men want people to lead them, to walk with them, to be with them. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, people actually want the help. It's just about being, knowing how to provide that help, knowing how to love people, knowing how to normalise things like emotions and, past traumas and difficulties and ups and downs. There's a call for it. You've seen it in what you're doing at the minute, and I've seen a call for it in what I'm doing at the minute. You're seeing at the minute a revival in the church. You're seeing an influx of men of a certain age turning up at churches. The statistics don't lie. People are having an identity crisis. Life's really, really hard. People are looking for answers. They're looking for purpose and they're looking for direction. And I think it's about being that safe place for people.
I 100% agree. And from my experience, like, say, since I've reached out nationally or in the public domain, like, the amount of men that have come forward and actually said, well, whoa, Lee can do this. Lee's reached out. Lee's doing okay at the minute. Maybe there's hope for us to go. And the amount of people that I'm seeing walking through the doors of like organisations or groups that I'm facilitating or groups that I'm involved with that are coming through the doors, and I'm thinking, I never knew you struggled. Do you know what I mean? But the thing is, though, why am I going to know if they don't open up? Do you know what I mean? The people are just keeping it all internal. There's a lot of internalisation going on within men, like, say, of a certain age. I mean, look at the statistics around men's suicide. It's phenomenal. It's mind blowing. Like, the men under 50, there's like 2 an hour. Do you know what I mean? That's people losing their partners, their dads, their sons. It's disturbing. It's disturbing, but I'm so glad that there's things in place now for men to actually go there in a safe space and actually open up and wear the heart on the sleeve and, and get open and honest and vulnerable, because I think that's where the power is.
Yeah, I think what I find a lot of when I'm mentoring men, sort of through the church and through the men's ministry that I'm doing, is I don't think that men know how to be weak. It's really interesting. The individual that helps me, he helped me along the way to understand that actually I don't know how to be weak. I don't know how to be vulnerable and humble. And how do I see things like submission and being able to sort of like submit myself to another man sometimes and just say, look, actually, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? Can you offer me some direction? Most people don't know how to do that. Everybody just tries to do life in their own strength, or they build a life outwardly that looks good. So they get the car, and they get the job, and they get the house, and they get all the, and there's nothing wrong with having a shiny life if you're into that sort of stuff, as long as you're not using it to mask the fact that you're going under on the inside. And that's what a lot of people are doing. Do you know what I mean? You ask somebody how they're doing, how are you doing? And then they start talking to you about their job or the weather. No, I didn't ask you that. How are you doing? People don't know how they're doing or who they are. Most people. That's my experience of people.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, when you ask somebody how they're doing, the easiest thing for them to say is, yeah, I'm okay, it's cool, yeah, like up and downs, like you said. And because that's an easy option. It's an option that we've all used, and I'm guilty of that myself.
Basically, don't ask me, I'm not sure.
Exactly,
that's what I sense
that.
as a count. What are you really saying within that? Yeah, not too bad, ups and downs. Well, I know such and such's brother who's related. I know really how you're doing. I know that you've got some really challenging stuff going on. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, not so much you, but, you know, like hypothetically,
100%.
people sort of don't know how to express themselves in a healthy way for one reason or another. Maybe they've not had the space to do that growing up, or maybe they don't have friendships that are like that now. And that's what I'm passionate about. Fostering healthy relationships, cultivating intimacy between men. Because I thought intimacy meant, you know, romantically making love to a woman.
That's all we know.
That's what
we get taught.
It's not that.
No, we know that now. But growing up, if someone said intimacy with me, like, start giggling.
Exactly.
I mean, like, because that's all I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I do now. And I'm grateful that I do now.
Yeah. I had it explained to me in the best. Some of the cool things that you learn in recovery are great. And I remember somebody saying to me about intimacy being into me, you see.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's really going on? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's nice to be able to be honest about who I am and how I am and what I'm doing at the minute. But yeah, life's exciting. There's been some unusual things along the way, you know. Working in a police station is the weirdest thing ever. I know it's a bit of a change of like conversation.
No, mate, it's what it's about.
It's just bizarre. Like what God does takes you back to strange situations. So imagine I work in the police station now. Do you know what I mean?
I can pretty much guarantee the last time you was in police stations was on the other side of the door.
It's weird.
So you've now got keys to the cells that you was once banged up in.
Yeah. And let me tell you, the sound of that door banging sounds different from the outside.
I can only imagine.
Do you know what I mean? What a gift is that? I remember going and being inducted at the police station in Coventry, and the sergeant and everyone else showing me around and showing me like where the charge room is and where the fire exit is. And I'm thinking, I know exactly where the charge room is. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, I think along the way as well, I think that people like, the last time I got arrested in that police station, the sergeant actually asked me how I am. They don't normally do that. For those of you out there that have been arrested regularly, it's normally, right, any suicide, self-harm, trainers off, get in the cells. But that last time I got arrested, he asked me how I am. He said to me, why are you doing this stuff? This charge doesn't fit. It says that you're running around trying to wrestle security guards and running out of shops with things that don't belong to you. Like, you seem really quite polite, quite a nice lad. Like, what's going on? It was the first time I'd actually considered, I don't actually know what's going on. Never thought about it. I just knew that I needed some crack. So I'm going to take some stuff out your shop and I'm going to go and sell it to someone for half price.
Standard.
So just somebody seeing me and asking me and caring about me, do you know what I mean? It meant the world for me.
But for me, Joe, that's all it takes. It is actually somebody just taking that little snippet of time to say, how are you? Not how's the fun, not what's going on, where you've been, where's your next holiday booked. It's all irrelevant. Do you know what I mean? But how are you? Genuinely, how is Joe today? Do you know what I mean? It goes a long way. And I find that as well, like, you bump into people in the street, and like you say, we're going back to that whole, like, yeah, I'm all right, mate, sound, catch you later. Because it's just easier. Because the thing is, once you say to somebody, actually, I'm not okay, it's that whole explaining as to why. And sometimes, like I say, it's not a safe space. It's probably outside Tesco's. Do you know what I mean? If you can ask them people in those spaces at the right time, I think you'll get a hell of a lot of results from it. But it's just articulating in a way that you actually do care, and it's not just like, oh yeah, I'll you know where I am, mate. If any problems, give us a shout. Because I've heard that a million times, and when I've gave a shout, there was no response. Do you know what I mean? It's actually hearing it from genuine people that they are genuinely there to support the next person that's struggling.
Yeah. I think most people are just not passionate about it, and I understand that most people, they might not feel as if they need to be able to express themselves in a genuine, honest and vulnerable way. But like for me, I got to a stage where my life depended on it. For me, living like I was okay when I wasn't become detrimental. You know, I didn't plan to get spat out in a treatment facility, age 30, suicidal, confused and clinically depressed. I didn't realise that I didn't know how to talk about how I was. I remember the counsellor in that place, what he said to me, after I'd been there for about 3 or 4 weeks, he said, Joe, can I just ask you, why are you lying? It was like, you're trying to BS your way through this treatment process. We all know that you're doing that. And it was like he's seen it right into me. He brought down the walls that I'd built up. Do you know what I mean? And it sort of felt really, really uncomfortable. But what he did is he disarmed me. He took away my poor coping skills. And really, I guess what I heard him say is, you're going to get real in here, mate. This is a small treatment centre. There's only 9 beds in here. So whether now or next week, you're going to go there, mate. And we're going to talk about why you are flat out on crack and heroin. Because people that end up on flat out on crack and heroin are not okay. I'm sitting there like I'm all right, trying to play like the comedian and that and all that. And they made me go there.
So that resonates now because that's what you done to me. Do you know what I mean? You listen, Lee, why are you lying? Do you know what I mean? You could see straight through me. Do you know what I mean? One man can see straight through the next man who's walked in his footsteps. Do you know what I mean? Like you pulled me up on my flaws so many times, and I still try and convince you that I was okay. But that wasn't the case. But you actually was the one that actually pulled me to pieces and made me realise that I need to start telling the truth, because the lies don't get me anywhere. But it wasn't easy. And like I say, and I went back out there and done some more experimenting and thought I was okay still. I'm getting up at 3:30 in the morning, arguing with the TV, trying to convince myself that I'm okay as I'm just walloping vodka down my neck just to try and cope, to try and blame somebody else for a bit of self-validation. That's not normal. But for people like me and you, Joe, that becomes the norm.
People don't talk about it, do they? The thing is that when you come from environments like most people that listen or in the room will know, like, you know, Saffron Lane Estate. So back when I was growing up, there was a pub there called the Midland Hotel, and it was a rough pub, and there were some serious characters in there. People don't talk about feelings. Oh, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed at the minute. No, people just fight, bottle each other, sell drugs, extort one another. Do you know what I mean? It's like when I was younger, my role models were like football hooligans, and like people that did armed robberies and drug dealers and that sort of stuff. So, you know, why would I know how to do that? I don't know how to talk about what's going on.
And when we're younger and we're looking up to these kind of people, that looks good for us. I want to be like him. He's got a nice house and a lovely watch. He's always got a few holidays under his belt. Do you know what I mean? I want that. I mean, fortunately, I never turned to crime. But I can understand how people do, because we do look up to these role models at times. When, I mean, for me, like my father left at an early age, I had no role model. So I was externally searching for somebody who I could look up to, and I never found them. No. It was only when I became an adult that I realised that people are there for me when I missed out on so much in my younger days that nobody was. Or said there was, but when I really needed anybody, there wasn't there.
No. I think the thing is as well, what's happened to me along the way is I used to use my childhood as very much an excuse as well. And I think it's important for me to verbalise that on here, because it's so easy to paint a picture of like, oh, my childhood was terrible and my mum and dad didn't do this. And the reality of it is that they did do their best. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had opportunities. I knew right from wrong. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't poor. I was fed, and kind of I was offered opportunities. I went on holidays. They helped me get into college. They helped me to get my first job and all the rest of it. And I just chose outright to be rebellious and just to go against the grain, to be honest with you. And whether or not that was my natural temperament or it was some kind of past hurt, I don't suppose it really matters. The reality of it is that I chose to go wayward, is the reality of it. You know, I was never happy. So when I'd have a job, like a good career opportunity, I'd be out like laying hardwood floor for a really good company, and I'd be thinking, it'd just be easier to sell drugs. I'd be thinking about how much money they're making selling pills over there. And then when I'd be selling drugs, I'd be looking at my mates that were driving around in the signed vans with the wives and the mortgages, thinking, I should just have 2.4 children. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I was never happy. I was always like in between, like, yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It really is crazy. Like you say, you can have it, don't want it. When I've got it, somebody else wants it, and now I've got it. I actually really like it. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a crazy one. I totally understand that, Joe. Totally understand that. And the way that you come across, like, it still fulfills me the way you speak now. Like, you've got one of those voices that make me want to listen. Do you know what I mean? And I take a hell of a lot from you, Joe. So I'd just like to say thank you so much for coming on here, enjoying me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I hope there's many more times ahead, Joe.
I appreciate you, mate. Nice one.
Thank you.